Loki is now streaming on Disney Plus with the beginning of the next glorious adventure for Loki Laufeyson. So as always, this review will have spoilers. If you want to check out my spoiler-free review of the first 2 episodes, it's right here. Without any further ado, let's talk some Loki. And our episode begins with Loki grabbing onto the Tesseract as the Avengers travel back in time to their first adventure in Avengers Endgame, and he gets dropped in the middle of the Mongolia desert and quickly found out by the TVA. But before I dive into all the spoilers and we start dissecting this episode, I want to know what you think. How did you feel about the first episode of Loki? Did it meet all of your expectations? Did it let you down in some way? Throw it all in the comments below, start the conversation. It's the most important part. And while you're down there, consider clicking the subscribe button if you haven't yet. It does wonders to get my content out there and you'll join a beautiful Loki fan community. If you've seen my spoiler-free review of the first 2 episodes, you already know generally that I really love this episode. In the first scene, as soon as the TVA comes in, I really love how they establish in a believable way how they can subdue Loki. She hits him with her baton and he feels the impact in real time, but his reaction is done in slow-mo. I just think the effect itself looks really cool. It's really funny for the story, but it also serves a functional purpose of setting up how the rules of the TVA work in terms of their quote-unquote powers. And so Loki has to deal with all this bullshit bureaucracy. He gets cleaned up, he gets taken out of his Asgardian garbs, he gets handed a huge amount of papers that literally contain everything he has ever said. So they're taking him into custody and they're going to judge him because now he is a time variant. He is too dangerous to be kept alive. But Owen Wilson, Agent Mobius, takes a very good interest in him because of something else that is going on at the same time. And I love how they do the introduction of Owen Wilson. We're going to have expectations when it comes to the casting of certain actors. So obviously we're going to expect Owen Wilson to play a certain kind of character, but his introduction scene is very ominous. It's very creepy. He's investigating this case at a church, and this child comes in, and when he asks who did this, she says, "Look at the crystal glass," and there's an image of the devil that is very, very much designed to look like Mephisto. Now, information just came out that they're not going to do Mephisto on this show, but they also said that there was going to be a secret actor at the end of WandaVision. So, you know, they lie. So then Agent Mobius goes to Loki's hearing and he asks to take care of him, and he basically takes Loki into a therapy session. I gotta tell you guys, the therapy sessions on these Marvel shows are the best part for me. And this takes very much the bulk of the episode as Loki starts to learn what the TVA is, how it works, what happened to him, what is a time variant, and he sees all these events unfolding that he technically never saw. And on a surface level, it would be very boring for us to see moments from MCU movies that we've seen already multiple times at this point. We've seen it in the original movies, we've seen it in the Avengers Endgame when they went back in time to all these major events. But the show makes a point at focusing on Loki. It's not about these events, it's how he's reacting to discovering all this, how insane it is, how heartbreaking it is that he didn't matter, he didn't have a choice. We have a deep dive into Loki's psyche, and I love this because it captures the essence and the three-dimensionality of the character that was present ever since the first Thor film. Now, I know a lot of people are not big fans of that film, but it's still my favorite Thor movie. In that film, Loki's goal was always to get the love of his father, to be approved by his father, to show him he was worthy. And we get that sense again here that he's really not evil per se. He's not a good guy, But there are so many levels to Loki, and I love how this show takes the bulk of the first episode to explore that without ever losing the essence of the character. And speaking of not losing the essence of the character, as soon as Loki gets a chance of getting out, he gets out, he starts playing with the TVA, he does that thing of the remote where it jumps the person back in time, and then back in time again, and then back in time again, and then back in time again, and I love it. I think that was really funny, a really great moment. So Loki goes to explore and he finds his Tesseract, but he also finds that the people in the offices of the TVA have multiple Infinity Stones, multiple versions of each Infinity Stone, and it means nothing. So throughout this episode, it feels very much like Loki is the punching bag, not for the butt of a joke, but to get some emotional catharsis, to find a new path for himself, a new purpose. What's he gonna do? Why is he gonna do it? Why does he want this? And I really love how the show finds these incredibly emotive ways to give this to the character of Loki, to have him drive the story forward in every sense of the word. Because after he finds these Infinity Stones, this Tesseract, he goes back to the interrogation room and he starts seeing the events that were left, and he sees up to his eventual demise in Infinity War. He sees himself dying, but with this new knowledge that he has, it meant nothing to him almost. And Tom Hiddleston deserves congratulations for his acting, because you can almost see the gears shifting in his head, the confusion, the sadness, the sorrow, the guilt, everything he's lost. You can see him thinking about all those events and feel so empty and hollow inside. So I really love how this first episode not only breaks down Loki, but kind of builds him back up again, gives him a little glimmer of hope by the end, when we end in a major cliffhanger, that is that the TVA, Mobius specifically, will need his help to catch this variant that is on the loose, taking down agents of the TVA and preparing some kind of big threat for the entire multiverse, for all the timelines, including the main timeline, the sacred timeline, and that is Loki himself. I know what happens in the episode after that, but we're not going to talk about it just yet. We'll have to leave it to the next week. One thing that I haven't brought up yet is when Loki walks into the DMV sort of location to try to understand this world. We have lots of screens, and we have the debut of Miss Minute, the animated clock, and she basically dumps all the exposition about what is the TVA, about the timekeepers, which Loki calls the space lizards, and the fact that he finds this so ridiculous just says something about how new this is to the entire MCU. This dude is an Asgardian god who lived on a floating island in space, and he finds this ridiculous. Everything about how the TVA and how this brand new sphere of the MCU works is so wacky, so insane, even Loki finds it hard to believe. And I love that. I love that this is all new in terms of visuals, in terms of how it works. Everything is so different to anything we've seen in the MCU before. Loki himself, the god of mischief, finds it ridiculous to believe, and he believes that there should be a higher purpose for himself and maybe for every living creature. It feels just muddled that everything is predetermined and their inner workings are defining what will happen in the future. So the first episode of Loki does a great job at breaking down the new rules, this new world that we're immersing ourselves into, but it really gives a lot of time to the character of Loki himself, which I really love. It's filled with charms, the character interactions are great, I think everyone does a great job. It raises up these veils of mystery just around everyone enough. Gugum Bathara is still someone who's very under a veil. We don't quite know what she wants or why she wants it. They left her very ambiguous on this first episode. Owen Wilson We don't know exactly why he wants to catch this person, why he decided to trust Loki. Apart from the obvious, I still feel like we don't have all the answers. But as far as a starting point is concerned, I think this show did a really, really great job at making us invested, at making the characters invested, and at setting up a very intriguing adventure. My favorite part, honestly, of this is when they're in the therapy session. Owen Wilson discovers that Loki was actually D.B. Cooper. I thought the adventure was going to take him back in time and he was going to become D.B. Cooper, but no, this was just a bet he lost with his brother, and it was all just a joke. I really, really love that, and it makes all the sense. The real case in real life is now done. Loki was D.B. Cooper. That's why we never found the dude. But those are my thoughts on the first episode of Loki. If you want to hear a little bit about what I think about episode 2 without spoilers, a spoiler review for the first 2 episodes is already on the channel, so go check that out. But let me know what you think of the first episode. Let me know what are your theories for the second episode as well. All of that in the comments below. And if you watched the video thus far but still haven't subscribed, consider clicking it. You'll join a beautiful community. I'll have reviews for each and every episode of Loki and many other great content here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching once more. You are the best. My review for In the Heights is already up if you want to go check that out. So till the next one, love each other and love the movies.